Hello and welcome. We're back. Episode 2, we're doing it again. Perfect Albums Podcast. My name is Chris. I'm your host. Joined again by my good friend and co-host, Eric Peterson. Eric, how are you doing today?
I am good, Chris. I'm good. Life is good. Dude, that last, our Blink episode 1 was so fun. People seem to enjoy it. I had fun chatting with you, and, we've got another great album today. So life is good, man. I'm glad we're back.
I'm glad we're back too. This has been a lot of fun to kind of go through these albums. The last two have been Blink, and then this one we're doing today, which, if you don't know, we're doing Through Being Cool by Saves a Day, but it's in the show notes, and I'm sure you saw it when you clicked it, so you know where you're coming into when you get to this far in that podcast. I had a lot of fun going back listening to this one. This is probably one of my favorite albums of all time, top 3 for sure. So I was happy that we can get to it. We'll get more into the album in a minute, but we do have some listener feedback, which has been great because people reached out to us. Which is just usually when you do the first episode of a podcast, maybe you get like 10 listens or something.
Sure,
We've done way more than that. I tried to look at that kind of stuff because I don't want to be in the numbers like that.
Chasing the likes.
We've been doing pretty good, and we had a bunch of feedback. So I'll read some of them we got here today.
Great.
This one's from Ginger the Elf, which I suspect I know who this person is because he also commented on Instagram. He said, "Absolute legends. Glad to hear both of you love this." And then on Instagram, I believe this is Simon, our friend from Christmas Countdown.
Our friend from Ireland.
Yes, he said, "What can I say? I came to listen about the album, but in a typical Eric and Chris fashion, I found out about diarrhea, sword fighting, aliens, and underage Airbnb parties." Rock on, guys.
Comment.
Can't wait for the next one. Yeah, it was a good one. Mike Westfall said, "Never did I expect Eric, Pete, or anyone on any podcast ever to bring up Inspection 12.
I love I saw that comment, and that makes me very happy that it wasn't shouted into the void with no response.
Yeah,
there was
someone heard it.
Another lonely voice out in the wilderness who said, "Yes, Inspection 12."
I pulled this comment from a YouTube video that we actually talked about offline a little bit. Social Repredator said, "Rome Ramirez is the true genius, and I will be following him from here on out. Nepotism has no place in music." Now, with context, this is about Sublime moving on from Rome to Bradley Nowell's son is now the front person, and I guess this person doesn't think that should happen. So,
do you think that it was said in jest, or do you think that it's hard to tell with
I guess it is hard to tell. I just can't. Everything leads me to believe that this guy thinks he's like onto something. He's like,
dude,
no,
Rome
I'm staying with Rome.
Is the real Sublime?
Yeah.
Well,
he's
I'll tell you.
Now.
I'll tell you. I think we maybe mentioned this, that one of the albums, and I don't know if it will be our next album, because Chris, I'll say this. We'll peel back the curtain a little bit here. The first album, the Blink album, that was an easy consensus. We both were like, yes, we both love that album. Tons to talk about, lots of memories. This one, I definitely do remember, but this was, I will say, more Chris's pick. He was very passionate about this one. And one of the albums that I'm really excited to sort of introduce Chris to is Bradley Nowell and Friends, which is the Sublime lead singer. It's an acoustic album. It's a super weird album, but it's one of my absolute favorites, and so I'm excited to do that in a coming episode.
Yeah, I started listening to that one just to kind of pull myself out of Saves the Day, because I basically been listening to this album nonstop. But I was like, let me just kind of just listen to anything else for a little bit. I did listen to a little bit of your album, and it's really good. I'm really excited to talk about it.
Yeah, it's awesome.
I think maybe there's one more. Kyle on Instagram says, "Finally catching up and love this podcast. I think I remember you guys briefly mentioning the possibility of this podcast on one of the Christmas pod episodes. I'm so glad you're doing it and look forward to the next one."
I love it.
Thanks, Kyle.
That's great. And correct me if I'm wrong here, Chris, we do have some merch possibly available. Is it available, or we're designing it now?
It's designed. It's on the TeePublic. If you go to our link in the show notes,
amazing.
It's all there. There's all kinds of designs. We're dropping new designs with every episode.
Yeah.
We're just going to flood the market. Feel free to not buy any of them. It's fine. Doesn't really cost us anything. So if you see
we're just coming up with designs that we think look cool. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Just in the idea, maybe I'll buy a hoodie for myself one day.
Yeah. I love it.
They have pretty good deals. And you can also like make the deals on TeePublic as well. So I can make it like a $5 hoodie, I think. I have to look into that. Sweet. I think we'd have to owe money to TeePublic.
Right. TeePublic's like, why are you selling our stuff for so cheap? Tariffs. Sorry, no, I won't go
there. So before we get into the album, there's some things I wanted to talk about. Green Day. Green Day got a Hollywood Walk of Fame star. Did you
I
see that?
saw that. I did. I watched it. I was very excited for them.
Yeah.
I I love so much about Green Day. Um, I'll save some of my Green Day stories for when we do Dookie or another Green Day album. But I love the Green Day still in their. They got to be in their 50s, maybe late 50s. No, mid 50s, probably mid 50s.
I hope
But
mid
they
50s.
but they look so cool still, and they don't look somehow. Sometimes when you look at, I'm gonna say Keith Richards, for example. Keith Richards looks like a really old dude who's still trying to dress like he's in 1972, right? Like it doesn't necessarily age as well. It looks a little try hard to me. Not saying that Keith Richards isn't cool, but like sometimes you get that with an aging rock star. I love that Green Day somehow still just looks their age, but looks really freaking cool. I loved that. I will say this. In the induction ceremony, they had Ryan Reynolds read, sort of introduce them, and it was I found it a little odd. In that it seemed like his connection to them was that he had put the song oh god, what's the song, the graduation song, what's that called?
The Time of My Life.
Yeah. Good riddance, time of your life.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
And he had put that in Deadpool, and so then they were like, well, obviously he should be the person that introduces them. And he even said, he's like, I haven't really known the guys for that long, but and he kind of made it a lot about him, which I get it. He's a movie star. He's trying to rep his brand, and he's in, not the greatest of public opinion right now. So I
Yeah.
get him doing what he has to do for himself, but it was a slightly odd. Like he didn't seem like somebody who was like, oh my God, I've loved Green Day for 30 years. They're so great. Like, I don't know. I think they do that a lot on the Hollywood Walk of Fame star induction ceremonies. They get sort of a random connection that you're like, why is this person introducing them? But I was very happy for Green Day all the same. What'd you think about it?
I was excited about it. It's nice. You kind of touched on it as well. Like they seem cool no matter what.
Yeah.
And they're not. It doesn't seem like they're trying to be cool or like they're wearing the same clothes that they wore 50 years ago when they were
Right.
cool. Like Keith Richards. They're evolving, but they're still looking cool. They're not as like gutter punky, and they dress now with, like ties and stuff, but they still look cool.
Yeah.
No one's questioning their credibility, which I think is important.
Yeah, there was a bit of this is not even Green Day news, but a Green Day thing that I noticed over the last week. There's a guy named Kyle. Oh gosh, what's his last name? I want to say like Turner or Morrow or well, I can't remember. Not Morrow. It's Kyle something. He's a comedian. He's a guy on like TikTok and Instagram. He's sort of famous for doing kind of a voice of like a little kid voice. And oh my gosh, this is a terrible example of it in a very roundabout way of getting to my point. But he's a guy, he's a comedian, and he was doing a tour where I guess he's playing music and stuff, and he kind of freaked out, and there was a bunch of people posting about like Kyle whatever like melts down on stage, and then they found out that he was really just doing an homage to the clip of Green Day when Billy Joe like freaks out because they were performing at some festival or something like that, and they put up on the little screen, you have 1 minute left, and he was like, are you fucking kidding me? 1 minute 1 minute, do you know who I am? And I was like, I've always loved that aspect of Green Day, is that they've become corporate enough that like they know how to like be in movies, and they they've, I don't want to say they've sold out, but they know how to like play the game as adults to like make money and support their families and become wealthy, and then you can live the life that you want. But they're still fucking punk rock, and I just love that about them. So that's my little bit of Green Day. I wouldn't even call it news. It's not news. It's not news.
Catching up with Green Day.
That's right.
A couple more things real quick. We talked about Drumeo, I think, last episode. Did you happen to see John Stamos do Papa Roach?
Yes, I did.
Oh my gosh.
And it was so good. I mean, people, if you are not watching Drumeo, and not following Drumeo, it is it's just a cool channel, and if you're into drumming, like they really do, they talk, they break it down, and it's very cool, and it's very like in the weeds about what it is to be a drummer and how it works and blah blah blah. But this series that they do, where they take a drummer who has not heard a song and say just play it, and they play it to the the track is in their ear, is so enjoyable when they just lock in. And John Stamos, Uncle Jesse himself, who we know is the drummer for the Beach Boys, does a really good version of Papa Roach of what's that song called?
Last
Cut
Resort.
my life into pieces. This is my last resort. Suffocation, no breathing. Don't give a fuck if I get my arm bleeding. Oh God, so good.
Yeah, that was awesome. He like, really put it all in. He was like just sweating. You can tell he did. They came out to his house and like he had his little like studio, and he must have done the song like 100 times, because like towards the end of the video he just looked like he was drained.
Yeah.
He was just like
amazing.
His shirt was totally soaked. But he ripped the whole thing. It was honestly very impressive. I think I just assumed that like maybe the Beach Boys songs aren't that difficult or something, or like you kind of give him some grace, like, oh sure, he's up there, it's awesome, you can go see the Beach Boys, and John Stamos is there, but he really, and
he's just going like
crushed it. Yeah, just kind of just like there.
Yeah. No, he was great.
It was awesome. Last bit of news. No, it's not. I guess this is news.
Sure.
Chris Rowe from the Ataris is putting out an album, first album in 18 years. Have you heard about the 7-inch that he just released?
No, but
great.
This
Let me
makes
tell
me
you.
Very excited.
Yeah, he released a 7-inch record. It's just a single. I think it's called The Car Song. It's not available in 8 states. Can you guess why it's not available in 8 states?
No, I don't have any idea why.
It's not available in Florida, Georgia, Massachusetts, Missouri, New Hampshire, South Carolina, Texas, and Virginia. The reason is he mixed in his dad's ashes into the wax for the record.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Wow. And those states have some sort of like cremation laws that
maybe you can't buy dead bodies, or you can't buy parts of dead bodies. Although I'm pretty sure I know someone in Florida who can hook you up with a dead body.
Oh yeah, definitely. There's a Florida man who can help you out with that.
So I guess what happened was his father was he was affected by alcoholism and addiction, and so it kind of he's donating 100% of the profits and proceeds from this album to charities that support people in those situations. So it's a pretty cool thing. It's maybe a little morbid and a little weird, but I don't know if I would necessarily need to have it, but I'm more power to him. And his dad gets to live on through the music, which is sort of his, like what he was saying.
Yeah, it's funny. I'll say this. I've been lucky enough that, I haven't experienced a ton of death yet in my family. My parents are still alive. My grandparents, not are all here, but I don't have much experience personally with cremation. Most of the people that I know that have passed away were buried, I don't want to say traditionally, but just in a coffin in the ground. But I am always very intrigued by this idea of spreading your ashes and bringing it to a certain place, or putting it in the ocean, or people that bring it to Disneyland and try to, dump it in Haunted Mansion. And like all these stories are always very interesting to me, of this idea. And if it was from the person who passed, if it's from their loved ones, I just think it's a very interesting, cool kind of way, to sort of view the cycle of life in we're here and then we're back to dust, and we're back into the earth and we become something else. It's I don't know, it's cool. I think that's a really cool thing to do. And it is a little morbid, but I will say, what a wonderful segue into our album here, because the lyrics of this album are pretty morbid in a way that, as we found even with the Blink stuff, sometimes when you listen to music as a kid, you hear like the chorus and you hear a line here or there, but you're not necessarily letting every line of a song land on you. And this one was way more morbid than I remembered it.
Yeah, let's just get into it.
Let's do it.
So, little background about the band. Saves the Day was formed in 1997. The only original member of the lineup is the band's singer, Chris Conley. The album that we're covering today is Through Being Cool, and that's the second studio album that was released November 2nd, 1999 by Equal Vision, which is a pretty legit record label, more hardcore stuff, but that's fine. The songs on this album were all written by the band members while they were attending NYU. It was recorded over 11 days and represents the band's transition from melodic hardcore from their first album, Can't Slow Down, to a more pop punk style. And we talked about it before when we were deciding which album we wanted to do for Saves the Day. I think this one just rocks a little bit harder.
Yeah.
Let me propose an idea to you. Let's revisit. We'll wait a year and we'll
Yeah.
come back and do Stay What You Are, which is the next album.
I love it.
And we'll do that one and we'll call it, get ready for this, Saves the May.
Saves the May. That's perfect. Just perfect.
I'm wasting my time here.
the applause in the listeners' rooms right now is thundering.
So we'll do Stay What You Are next year, but so it's awesome. It was back to Through Being Cool though. This one was named by Alternative Press as one of the 10 most influential albums of '99. It was also named one of the most influential emo albums of all time by Rolling Stone.
Gotta be.
I remember there was this pop-up that Jack Antonoff, if you don't know, the Bleachers and whatever else, we can talk about that another time. He had a pop-up at his concerts where you could go into his, like a makeshift bedroom of his, where you can go and like kind of hang out in his old bedroom. And it was just like lined with flyers from old shows and stuff. And there were a ton of Saves the Day show flyers.
That tracks.
Up. Yeah,
that tracks.
It's all New Jersey. It's all them. They're very popular in that scene at the time, and it was a very influential band. So everyone, not I say everyone, but I think a lot of people probably would put this one up there as being one of the more influential emo band. And again, emo, pop punk, whatever. I feel like it all kind of, this one especially blends a lot. There's a lot of like elements of all of them in it.
We should say, like, I wrote that down as well, that like this feels so emo to me. And I want to say this. I want to caveat that by saying in the good way. Not that what you would maybe call emo music now is bad, but like it was more lyrically, this was really about this idea that like I'm a young dude who's so in love and I'm so heartbroken that like I just want to die and I want you to rip out all my body parts because there's no reason to live and everyone should be dead because my love is broken, right? And that kind of sentiment written through, whatever kind of, however you want to frame it musically, to me is what emo music is. And now I feel like it's become, sometimes it's kind of like really sappy music or, I don't know. But this feels like in the good old days of when we were kids, like if you're like, oh, I love emo music, like this is what you were talking about. Now I have a question.
Okay.
Do you know, would people call stuff like, and I'll be honest, I don't know a lot of their music, but like The Cure and like, would they call that stuff emo? Is that like a precursor to this kind? I mean, I don't see the musical through line necessarily, but do you think that like that phrase, like emo music, was that before this whole kind of 90s scene, or was this the start? I don't know.
I wonder if the term emo really only applies to like bands that started out in like, let's say 90, 93, 94, moving forward. Because I guess I always assumed that The Cure was more of like a prog rock sort of a band,
right?
Like they were just doing a little bit differently than everybody else. But I can definitely see them sort of having very emo sort of lyrics. Them and like the Smiths and Morrissey.
Yes, that whole thing. I do know. I mean,
by a truck.
Sure, and if you look at Brand New, another great band, they talk a lot about like the Smiths and Morrissey and stuff like that. So they definitely were influenced by those guys. So I don't know. Interesting stuff to think about.
Yeah. So I just kind of looking stuff up. This is how cool the internet is. I found a flyer for one of the shows that I had been to, that Saves the Day had been to, and this is in '99. And it set me off on this like rabbit hole situation where I was like, I'm gonna see if I can find out the dates of every single time I've seen them. And besides Warped Tour, because again we've talked about Warped Tour. There's I've seen a million bands at Warped Tour. I have no concept of how those shows like
time or
set
place
up or whatever. Like you just walk by and see like Good Charlotte. You're like, okay, there it is. What's next?
Yeah.
But I saw, just to break it down and tell you who I saw them with, but some of these shows were pretty crazy. The first time I saw them was on 8/10/99. with Bane, Vacant Andes, and A Newfound Glory. Now I said A Newfound Glory because they took out A before their self-titled album so that it would be easier to track. Now Vacant Andes, I don't know if you remember this or know this.
I don't remember them.
The lead singer of the Vacant Andes went on to do Further Seems Forever, and then he went on to do Dashboard Confessional. That was Chris Carrabba.
Chris Carrabba. Oh man,
yeah, so that was
awesome.
that was a loaded show, and then I saw them again. This is all like around the time when they were touring with Through Being Cool.
And so what kind of venue are you seeing them in for that?
Club
kind of
Q was a just a little billiards club in a shopping center. Yes. The next one I saw them was an outdoor venue in Coconut Grove called the Chili Pepper, and that was with Newfound Glory again.
Yes.
And also with Face to Face, which is an awesome band from California somewhere, and Alkaline Trio.
Yes.
Which was a cool show. Yeah. And then the last time I saw them that I could find out was at Orbit in Boynton Beach, which I don't think is there anymore. That was an old grocery store, which is how these things work. That was in 2001. And that was with Hey Mercedes and Dashboard Confessional. That was like a Vagrant Records tour.
Yeah, yeah. Oh man, that's awesome. That's so cool.
Yeah. It was really cool to go back and to be like, oh man, I can't believe I got to see some of these bands. And Vacant Andes, I remember seeing them before. And I knew that he transitioned on to do other stuff, but at the time I had no idea that person was going to be like so like influential on a totally different level, which we have to talk about somewhere else. Because
yes, I love Dashboard.
For sure.
I love Dashboard
for sure.
Really,
it's a. Yeah,
we'll definitely
do it soon.
Yeah, I know that on a tiny little tangent here. I know that Chris is still releasing music. There is a real part of me now being a parent, and I know he's a parent as well. I wish that he would write the same kind of music, screaming infidelities kind of music about the big feelings of being a parent, because I think it would be awesome, because I think a lot of his audience is that age. I think a lot of those big, huge feelings absolutely track to, as a parent, of wanting to do right by your kids, of not knowing what you're doing, of loving them so much, like it all tracks. But I don't feel like anybody has really written that great kind of album like that, whether it be an acoustic kind of Dashboard album or even a Saves the Day type album, that's more heavy, that's all about the big feelings of being a parent. I think it is an untapped niche that somebody could do, and it would be very successful.
I think that he should do it, and we should figure out how to reach out. We can
get him to him. Yeah,
sure, I'm sure we can.
All right, mission assigned.
Yeah, we have to get a hold of Chris Carrabba and tell him to make an old record about new stuff.
Yeah.
Make songs about things that we can relate to now.
Yeah, exactly.
So
let's get into the album, yeah?
For sure, let's get into the album. So before we get into all the songs and everything else, it's worth mentioning that all the love songs are based on actual events, all the love that he had for this person at some time, but all the angry songs were all just creative writing assignments that were reworked into songs. So you will see a lot of that come up, like very aggressive, sort of graphically violent stuff. That's not necessarily real life, Tim. It was just kind of a creative writing project. It's funny. A few months ago, my wife told me, she's like, because I play a lot of like 70s, like soft rock at home a lot, because I like to vibe out like that.
Yeah.
And my wife was like, you should play like cooler music for our son. Like, which is a very subtle way of saying, please don't play Steely Dan for our son
yacht
anymore.
rock all the time. Yeah.
And so I was like, well, okay, maybe I can play something else. This is one of the first albums. I was like, well, let me check this out.
Yeah.
And you can't, because it's very graphically violent. There are parts that are just like, and we'll mention them. I have a bunch saved here that we'll mention as we go through that are just like, whoa, dude, slow down.
Yeah. Easy. Tap the brakes there.
Yeah. But I mean, if you can get it out of your system somehow through song or through a creative writing project, that's fine.
There's songs on here though that you could play for your kid.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, he's heard it the last like month. I've been playing it basically in the car and we're at home. Let's get into it. It's 12 tracks, just over 33 minutes. I actually have it on vinyl here. This is a little, just for if anyone sees this.
Look at that.
And speaking of which, this is little Easter eggs here. If you look on the liner notes, remember in liner notes where it's like a sheet instead of like a little book?
Yep.
There's liner notes here. There's the dude here, I don't know if you can see, making out with someone on the couch next to this guy in the band. That's the bass player for a band called Humble Beginnings, who went on to be the bass player for a band called Midtown.
Yes.
This is Gabe Saporta right here. He also Cobra Starship. He's on the side A sticker as well.
Look at that.
Very cool. How about that?
I love that. Midtown's a good band.
Midtown's awesome. I love Midtown as well.
Good band.
It's just yeah.
We
It's good stuff.
love anything drive through from those days was.
It seems
just
like
the
it.
best.
I mean, like I just needed some direction, and that's not a pun intended for any Midtown fans, but I needed some direction to point me in what albums to listen to, and Drive Through did that.
Drive through did it.
So.
Yeah, totally.
All right, so let's get right into it. Track number 1, All Star Me. It's an upbeat little pop song. It starts with a really cool effect of a guitar being plugged in.
Yep.
I'll play a little bit, and then we'll talk on the other side of it. And we'll hear a lot more of his voice later on, so I'm going to fade out of that. And I will say, this is the first track that I like when his songs specifically reference himself, because the singer, his name is Chris, and obviously my name is Chris as well. So I like when he says to himself in songs like Chris, look out across the sky and tell me which way the wind blows. Because in my head, I'm like, he's talking to me, dude.
Yeah, totally.
And it doesn't happen very often, but when it does, I really appreciate it. I think it maybe only happens in this album, maybe a couple times, but it is cool. And that's one of the things that really stood out to me about the thing. And it's the first song on the album and he says that, so it's pretty cool. Yeah. I really like the song. It's just fun. It's fun. It starts off that album on a good tone.
It totally does. It's a great opener. I love, like you said, the plugging in of the guitar.
Mm-hmm.
Now I have a question for you. I have 2 questions about this song. One is they reference Highland Park, and there's definitely a Highland Park in Chicago, but do we think there's a Highland Park in New Jersey?
There is a Highland Park in New Jersey, yeah. There's also one in LA, which I believe they recorded this in LA, but they would have written everything when they were back in
New Jersey, yeah.
In New Jersey, so yeah, there's a Highland Park in New Jersey.
Okay, great. And now my second question is, what do you think the core of coal that's in sort of the chorus? That is one thing where I was just like, is it saying like you have a black heart? Like you have a heart of a core of coal? I don't know.
I believe so. I think so. It also says core of coal and starches.
Right.
So I think it's just to add in like another thing that like coal and starch, just like maybe just like that's what is inside.
Yeah. I don't know.
Weird lyrics.
But what I'll say is that I feel like that is one of the more artistic lyrics. A lot of the other lyrics are pretty linear in that you can follow at least the train of thought. It might be odd, but you get what he's talking about, you know.
Yeah.
But no, I agree. Great opener. This is an album. I will say I have this note through a few of the songs that like I absolutely 100% remember like driving around listening to this with my friends and that feeling of just like being 19, 20 and just rocking out to this stuff. It's so good.
That's right. That brings us to our next track, You Vandal.
Yeah.
Another cool intro. The band was heavily inspired by the first Foo Fighters album, The Color and the Shape. You can kind of hear it in this one a little bit. I'll play the intro. This is like Monkey Wrench, the album.
Yeah.
They actually toned all their guitars to sound like Foo Fighters on that album.
Nice.
Yeah, this one's about his girlfriend's on vacation in Costa Rica. It's there's not much to it. It's a fun song. I pointed out some passive-aggressive lyrics that I found towards the end of the song. This is basically he's just saying, hey, you're on vacation. I'm stuck here having a miserable time.
Yep.
But he says, I hope you're okay, even though I'm dying. I hope you're still trying to have a killer time. Go see the volcanoes. Go see the rainforests. I'll be fine by myself. I'll be fine without these bones.
Yeah. Well, because earlier in the track, which is the thing I wrote here, I said a great fast emo punk track, super emo before emo meant slow and sappy. I remember this chorus so well. I loved the New Jersey call out. But he has a line where he says, when do I get to wake up to you? Tonight I can't forget that I got these open wounds. And then he basically says, you know what? Take my ribs because my heart is no good. What are my ribs even protecting? Because my heart is so broken that there's no point in even having ribs. So I don't even need these bones. It's so good. It's so, I mean, here's the thing that's glorious about that type of emo music lyrics is that I'm a big fan or proponent or champion of passion. That like
Mhm.
if you are super passionate about whatever it is you feel, good, bad, left, right, whatever, but you are filled with a passion that is just bubbling out of you, that's always going to be exciting and interesting to some audience. And you know, I talk about that with acting students a lot, that I'm like, you got to feel passionate about this. And there's such a lack of passion in our society of people just like, well, okay, whatever, you know. And so when people feel hard, it is so exciting to watch and experience. And so I love that part of that sort of essence of emo lyrics of like, I'm just gutted with how heartbroken I am, is so awesome. The other note that I made about this song is, and I noticed it throughout the whole album, is that their lyrics don't really scan like no, I don't want to say normal lyrics, but they have a very interesting way of that they'll write like half a sentence and they'll end
Yeah.
a lyric line with like a preposition that's leading into the next one, and so they don't feel like here's the line about this and here's the line about this. Like it has a very kind of interesting way of weaving in and out of thoughts, and the way that it scans is really cool.
I will say that while we're on the subject of lyrics, the version of this album I had growing up, or when I would have been listening to it in the cars and stuff when it first came out, was a burned CD. So I didn't have the liner notes.
Yeah,
So the going through this with the lyrics has been very interesting for me because there are so
sure.
many lyrics where I was like, I had no idea that's what he was saying.
Yeah,
It's that thing. It's that thing where you're listening to a song that you've heard 1,000 times and never knew the words to, and you kind of do like this like scat singing along with
yep,
it,
yep,
where it's like you're
totally.
making words that are similar to it, and you kind of get through it, and you're like, yeah, that was fun. But then you listen to it, and it's like, I had no idea he said that.
No idea. Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Totally.
So that it has been fun to go through and kind of just listen and read the words. So I can be like, oh
Yeah.
my gosh, that's like. There's one later on. It was like the colors of leaves. I was like, I had no idea he said he was talking about
Yeah.
leaves at all.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. So moving on. This is track 3. They had a video for this one. This is the first single, I'm assuming. This is Shoulder to the Wheel.
Yes.
This was a fun one. This was a house party show they in the video, and they all kind of hang out and play, and they're having pizza and stuff. It's basically just one of the first of a couple songs they have in this album where they're talking about touring and being out on the road and playing kind of just like smaller shows, and it's kind of wanting to get around. Like you mentioned earlier, this one reminds me of driving around with friends. They touch
Yeah.
on it a lot in this one, but it's this one when I hear this, like it takes me back to like driving down through like South Florida and just like with aimlessly almost,
Yeah.
just listening to music cranked up as loud as we could. This is a good one. So Shoulder to the
Yeah.
Wheel is a good one. I feel like if it hadn't been the single, I probably would like it even more. But it's the one song that I've heard like way more than the other ones.
Sure.
So it's like,
Yeah.
all right, this is a good one. But I mean, it's one of my favorites because it's on here. But
Yeah.
I've heard this one a lot.
Sure. Play a little bit of it, and then I have a
Yeah,
couple
give me a
thoughts on
second.
it.
Let me find the part.
He's got to find his burned CD too.
Yeah, I gotta go through my my case. It's in my car.
Flip, 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 flip. Oh, this is a good one. And then you get distracted when you're looking for one album, but then you pass by something, you're like, oh, but I should listen to this. Ah, the good old days.
That's the only way I would listen to Papa Roach is if I like, oh, I guess I should listen to it. I have this
Yeah.
album in here.
Yeah.
All right, here we go. This is Shoulder to the Wheel. Good stuff.
And I love the one version of it where he goes, we're home, and he goes up. Oh, it's so great.
Yeah, it's good.
Yes, this is my favorite song on the album. It's a classic. I love the part, the sort of syncopated part at the beginning when he's like, "Get us away from tonight," is just a really cool sort of like different, sort of rhythmic attack, which is really cool. Just definitely, it has that feeling. It's such a teen feeling of like, I just gotta go, man. I just gotta get out of here. I gotta move. You know, you live your life with your parents, and you feel safe and cocooned, and everything's good. And then you just, when you're 16, 17, you just get this urge that you're like, I got to get out of here. I'm suffocated by this life and these parents who've loved me and supported me and taken care of me. You're like, I gotta get out, and you're like just crawling in your skin, right? And this song just perfectly encapsulates that. Like, we gotta get out of here. Great repeated chorus. This is like just peak saves the day. I also especially love the line, "Big waves of light." Big waves of light is a great line. Just great.
Yeah,
Good
there's a
stuff.
lot of lines that he comes up with that are like, all right, this is definitely like a creative writing sort of a project. I think
Yeah,
it sets the idea like in tone, like where it's like, all right, well, this is probably something he wrote
yeah.
to get a good grade, but it definitely sounds awesome, and the fact that he's able to do it, and he's not in creative writing still, and he's still putting out very similar lyrics to this, so it's interesting. So
Great.
yeah, as a lyricist, it's awesome. It's a little bit aggressive. We'll hear some more aggressiveness on the next track.
Ooh, yeah.
That's track 4. This is Rock's Tonic Juice Magic. This one now, I have some information specifically about his writing assignment for this one. This one was a song in which he wanted to personify intense anger.
Yeah, I think mission accomplished.
Yes. So I'll read a little bit of it before I play any. It says, "Let me take this awkward saw." This is the first lines in the song. "Let me take this awkward saw, run it against your thighs, cut some flesh away, and I'll carry this piece of you with me."
Whew.
Pretty nuts. Pretty
I
nuts.
said, yeah, my one note here is very serial killery.
Yeah. So from what I understand, this song is about an ex-boyfriend who's singing towards his ex-girlfriend who was abusive to him, but he still wanted to come back to him, and this is how it all worked out. I have another chunk of lyrics here, just because this one, there's tons to talk about, but I'll read this one. "And if not, I'll take my spoons and dig out your blue eyes, swallow them down to my colon. They're gonna burn like hell tonight."
Yeah. Whew. Is this the one with the lemonade, or is that a different song? Where it's like, I'm going to throw lemonade in your face?
Yeah, this is the lemonade one for sure.
It's
I'll
like,
buy some lemonade right now and then throw it in your face, listen to you cry.
yeah, it like I'm like, oh, as I'm listening to it, I'm like, he's like, I'll go buy some lemonade right now. I'm like, oh, fine, we're taking a turn. Now we're gonna get sweet. And he's like, and then I'm gonna bring it home and throw it in your face and watch you cry. Oh my god, crazy.
Let's hear a little bit. Yeah, and then we'll talk on the other end of it. Bunch of that.
Yeah.
Why don't you step on it? Step on my heart. It's
Step on my heart. It's on the floor. Just do it. I'm no good anyways. And I gotta say, it does make me happy, the idea of maybe not happy, but the idea of using a spoon as a weapon brings me to one of my favorite movie quotes of all time from Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves. "I'll cut his heart out with a spoon." "Why with a spoon, sir?" "Because it'll hurt more, you twit." Great, Alan Rickman. Oh my God. Great line.
Very good song. This one's one of their more popular songs. From what I understand, this one they play live at every show they've played since this song has been out, which has been like, I would assume, thousands of times probably.
Yeah.
This is a big one. This is Rock's Tonic Juice Magic. Don't know what the song title means, but I guess that's not really for me to decide. I probably could look it up. I'm happy to sing Rock's Tonic Juice Magic.
Yeah, I like it.
Moving on to track 5. This was maybe one of my favorite ones. Hollyhock's Forget Me Nots. This is about a dude who's just like really hung up on a girl, man.
Yep.
He's really hung up on her. I have some lines here. This is just this line I have here is I wrote down because it's peak emo. It says that the doctor told me, "Every skyline and every night spent alone is tearing me apart."
I literally, Chris, I wrote the exact same thing. I said, peak emo line. Doctor said every skyline and every night spent alone is tearing you apart. It is so, you're so right, because, and the part of that is the skyline, which, like, my little brother had an emo band, like punk band. I feel like every punk band had some line about like, the skyline is calling, or when I see the skyline, all I can do is cry, or like, it's all somehow we always had to have some reference to the skyline, which I just think is awesome.
You know that you're in your emo era when your doctor tells you to stop being emo. Like, you got to stop doing that. You got to not go to the roof and contemplate.
Yes.
So let's play a little bit of it just so we can acclimate ourselves. Hollyhock's Forget Me Nots.
It is a great song. It really is. I had a couple things to say about this song. First of all, I wrote a little side note. As I was listening to this song, I noticed, you know how when you listen to something on Spotify, at least on your phone, it has like a little video that sort of plays. It's usually like a 7 second, it's almost like a GIF. It's like playing in repeat. And so when you listen to this album, they have, I think for every song, just some like grainy concert footage from back in the day. And I was thinking about how we grew up at a really cool time because the memories that we had as kids did get documented because people started to have smaller cameras that could be mobile enough to experience stuff like that. But it wasn't like it is now where we had cameras on our phones necessarily that were worth anything, where now, everybody films everything. So like stuff got documented, but it was also kind of grainy and blurry, and so when you look back at it, it feels very vintage and nostalgic. And I was actually thinking about my kids, and I was like, I wonder if when they look back at their videos of when they're a kid, if they'll be like, if it will feel as nostalgic because everything will be so clear, like everything is shot so close to real life, and there's something about looking at a picture that is blurry or grainy that you're like, the memories are fuzzy, and that's kind of how they probably should be. And you don't want them to be in 4K where you can see every pimple and good and bad detail. You kind of want it to be a little fuzzy in the mind. And so, I don't know, maybe I'm getting too deep about it, but I really, it made me think about that. What else did I write here? I said the peak emo line, Doctor said every skyline. And also, I liked that it said "is tearing you apart," and it made me think of that James Dean line from Rebel Without a Cause, where the classic line where he's like, "You're tearing me apart." Just that. That's how they feel. Everybody feels that way when you're a teenager. Yeah. And then I also said that they have a lot of songs about water, which would, and then I was like, insert talking about at your funeral, which is my favorite Saves the Day song, which is on Stay What You Are. But
yeah.
We'll save that.
Yeah.
Now that I know about Saves the May,
Saves the May. Everyone celebrates Saves the May.
I will save that.
It sounds like a used car dealership event.
Yes. Toyota-thon and Saves the May. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Moving on. The next one we're gonna do is Third Engine. I think this one might be my favorite song.
Nice.
I think. Yeah, it's another song about missing your girlfriend, but this time he's on a train. One of the lines I thought was interesting, and goes back to nostalgia and how old we are. It says, "Why don't they have phones on these things?" So this guy's so pent up about wanting to talk to his girlfriend, but he can't because there's no way for him to call her.
Yeah,
just like this is before cell phones. I remember vividly what life was like. It was probably a little boring, and you really couldn't communicate with anybody. But it was a different time for sure. And just the idea of like, I can't believe they don't have phones on these trains, so I can just like call and talk to you.
And also, I mean, I remember like that feeling of like, if you were going to call somebody before we all had kids, I mean, we were pretty young, but like I had a girlfriend in, 6th grade, 7th grade. And like you had to call the house, a parent would answer, and then you're like, can I talk to your daughter for a minute? And like, you knew that people were probably listening. Like, it's just the ways to communicate with a girlfriend or boyfriend was like just so vastly different. Different.
Yeah, I would have crushed. No.
Yeah.
I would not have crushed. It was the same old me. Just it'd be new ways for me to fail.
Oh no, I disagree.
But anyway, yeah, this song reminds me of just like it came out a little bit before I met my current wife, my girlfriend at the time. But this one reminds me of like when we first started hanging out together. Just like
nice.
Yeah, so we'll play a little bit of it.
Yeah.
And we'll keep it pumping.
Oh, my sweet.
Good stuff. Good stuff.
Yeah.
If you got to go back, if you're listening to this, just listen to the whole songs. We would not be able to do the podcast if we played the whole song because Spotify would shut us down immediately.
Yes.
We're already towing a fine line now, just like the amount of we're playing. But I'm throwing care to the wind just to bring this music to you.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah, so it's a good one. I like Third Engine, very good one. I like some of the imagery, like the skies, melons and oranges. That's kind of a cool way to kind of describe things. I think back in the day, before I had ever really read anything that was like that, like illustrative, it just felt like very like, oh, that's really awesome.
Yeah.
But
I agree.
Anyway, moving on, track number 7, My Sweet Fracture.
We got another murder song.
Another murder song. The song I wrote down here, the song is an acknowledgement that you shouldn't pursue someone who is going to hurt you, but you still don't stop from wishing that you could change them in the situation. I bring it up. His mom says in the song, says, "Sweetie, you don't need someone who's more fleeting than fall," to which he responds in the chorus, "Don't you just love the leaves? Don't you wish they could stay orange forever?" And the crickets singing in the night all through winter. But it's not how it is. Winter, the leaves are gone, everything changes. You can't have it the way you had it during fall. And that's exactly what I think this relationship felt like in the song.
Yeah.
It felt like it was just not a great situation to be in long term, but it seems like he really loved it for the time that he was in it. It's a good song. I hope he wasn't too traumatized by it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know if you did you watch The Americas narrated by Tom Hanks on NBC over the last few months?
I haven't seen it. I have it on my list of things to get to at
It's
some
like
point.
a new, one of those like Our Planet kind of things. And there's a really cool fact that he brought up about fall in that series that he was like, I had no idea. And I was like, I didn't have any idea about that either, Tom Hanks. So thanks for telling me. But that in especially in the Northeast, when fall happens, I guess I always assumed that it's like the seasons are changing, the leaves are dying, as they die, they just wither away and then they fall off and they die, right? That's how I imagined it. But actually what is happening apparently is that the tree knows that winter is coming. And so it takes, during the summer and the spring, it sends out all of its chlorophyll out to the leaves, which makes them green. And then as it senses winter coming, it takes the chlorophyll out of the leaves and brings it back to the center of the tree to protect like the main tree part of the tree so that it'll stay alive through the winter as a preservation technique. And that's why the leaves, they're not dead. They just are not don't have any chlorophyll in them anymore, which is why they turn to red and orange and maroon and all that stuff. And then the tree says, okay, now you've done what you need. The tree basically says you're dead, cuts them off. Once they serve no purpose, then they fall to the ground. And then the tree in the spring sends chlorophyll back out to the new leaves. I was like, I just never knew that was sort of the process. And I thought it was very cool.
That's basically a perfect analogy for the song.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
That's why I said it. Yes.
Let's go ahead and play the chorus this one so we can get a little vibe off it.
Love that.
And we know a lot more about that thanks to Tom Hanks. So
that's right.
T. Hanks, Tom Hanks. I like how he does that.
Oh,
right?
That was good. Yes,
very cool thing. He does. Moving on to next track, "The Vast Spoils of America," and in parentheses, "from the Badlands through the ocean." Maybe much. I don't know, but I appreciate the effort.
Absolutely.
Their parentheses, I don't necessarily know if it's needed. This is another tour song, being on tour, just a fun little rock song. I don't have too much written about this one. This is a good song, but it is what it is.
I said that this one should be played like the national anthem. This is the national anthem of emo to me.
Yeah.
And I also like that it's so sweet. It actually is a very sort of like hopeful, sweet song. And I love that at the beginning it has that California, now that I live in California. It's fun.
Let's go ahead and let's play a little bit.
Let's play.
California, where the mouth is quite so tall, and witchcraft blew round too. Where Freed was passed out in my van, and I'm not driving.
This one was one of the ones where I was like, I didn't know that the lyrics were that. Like, it's all about driving and stuff. I was like, I had no idea there's being in the van and
Yeah,
it's like,
and
oh my
everybody's
gosh. But
asleep, and yeah.
yeah, it's definitely feels like what it would be like to be on tour in a very small emo band in
Oh,
the late
yeah.
90s, early 2000s. You're just
Yeah.
stashed wherever you can, sleeping on top of merch boxes and stuff.
Yeah, totally.
That's a good song. That's what it is. It gives us an opportunity to move on to the next one. The Last Lie Told. This is another creative writing exercise. Whenever I heard the song previously, before I looked into it to figure out what it was about, I always assumed it was just about him hanging out late at night in a parking lot,
Sure.
just kind of being introspective. But it's not late night. It's actually very early in the morning.
Mm.
And from what I understand, he was waiting outside of a Sam Ash, which is like a music store, equipment store, to get a microphone or something. And it takes place very early in the morning, and it's just like him like hanging out for hours before Sam Ash opens and kind of just writing down what he was experiencing.
Interesting.
Mhm.
Yeah, I said there's not too much to this song. It's pretty much that feeling of sitting in your car, waiting for something,
Yeah.
killing time, write a punk song about it.
Yeah, it's the best case scenario. If you can write an awesome song about it, then that's
Yeah.
you're a better person for it. I'm going to play a
Absolutely.
little bit of that one. Let's check it out.
Well, there's something like this broken heart when I'm seeing the stars imploding. I can see them from where I'm lying. Yeah, why can't feel
I wanted to get one of those whoa-whoa-ohs in there. It's good stuff.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
It's a good one, though.
Yeah, it's a fun song. It's not too bad. It's I guess knowing it's about Sam Ash maybe takes a little bit away from it. So maybe I'll forget that part.
Yeah.
Moving on, track 10, whipping through it. Couple tracks left. Do you know what I love the most? This is a quick tune. I don't have very much. It's like a minute and a half song. It's a very fast one.
I love people don't do that anymore, but the punk bands of our day used to do those 59-second songs, minute 20. Oh, so great.
Yeah, let's play a little bit of this before we talk about it.
Do you know why I love the most? Even sometimes I'll be okay with you beating my sheets, breathing the window. 'Cause we will.
So that's what we're looking at. That's the vibe. It's definitely
Yep.
like more punk than emo, I think, in the song. The song
Yeah,
kind of
yeah.
draws back to like older types of music and kind of steers away from the over emo sort of stuff, which is fine. It's nice to break it up a little bit. I appreciate that very much. It reminds me of their last album that came out before, which is Can't Slow Down, which I wouldn't say is a perfect album, so you will not be hearing about it unless we get into 3 years from now and Saves the May comes up and we're going into other albums.
We need
We'll see
another
how that
one.
works out.
Let's see. I like this one because I like that the lyrics are about like, hey, let's live a simple life in the suburbs. And, I didn't remember this song, but I loved it. And I loved how at the end, it's like, we're going to move to Ohio and steal Cadillacs is the last line of the song, which I just think is delightfully weird. After a song about like, we're going to move to the suburbs. I'm going to like have my easy chair. You'll go to work. When you come home, I'll get up and give you a kiss and we'll have a great little life. And then we're going to move to Ohio and steal Cadillacs. I was like, I love it. I see it all. I love it.
I would do it. I remember hearing that and being like, all right, that sounds like it could be an option for me.
Yeah, totally. We could do that.
Yeah, we can steal. And maybe Cadillacs are very easy to steal, like a Kia or something. I don't know how that works. Maybe at the time they were very easy to steal.
Yeah.
All right, so moving on. This is track 11, Through Being Cool, title track. Another creative writing assignment. I don't have very much written down. I don't even have like a position to play, so I don't really know. I'm just gonna. You want to say something about it before I play some music from it? Sure.
It's funny. I didn't remember this song, and it's odd considering that it's the title track.
Mm-hmm.
But I also think it's funny that in my mind, whenever I heard, when I would see "Saves the Day" Through Being Cool, I always associated the word "cool" with like I'm through being cool. Like I'm not gonna try to be cool anymore, right? More in like a vibe. But in the song "Through Being Cool," it's really more like I'm through holding in my anger. I'm going to be a hothead right now and do some crazy, which is interesting. And then the other thing that I wrote is this has nothing to do with the song itself, but I think that I've always wanted to do like a deep essay about the word cool. I think cool is the coolest word because I think that I think that, if you really break it down, all anybody ever wants to be is cool, right? I think it's really neat. I'll stop saying cool. I think it's really neat that the word cool, while it has other synonyms, like you have Miles Davis, back in the 60s had an album, Birth of the Cool. Like the word cool has always been cool, right? Like still today, like kids will be like, "Oh, that's cool." And it's this sense of like not just belonging, but it's that you're like individual, that you have a swagger to you, that you're sure of who you are and how you're moving through the world, that is not affected or dictated by other people. And maybe again, I apologize for going into this deep dive on the word cool, but I really think that the word cool is like the coolest. I really do. I'll write something out and articulate this better. But
I think you already have the beginnings and the endings.
know
of
that it's
essay.
coming. Yes, that's right.
The word cool is the coolest. End.
Word cool is the coolest.
Let's go ahead and play a little bit of Through Being Cool.
Yeah.
'Cause I'm through being cool, and he keeps telling everyone about me. Yeah, like how I'm such a fool, and
Yeah, so that's a fun song. I love it. Through Being Cool.
Yeah.
That's track 11. The title track pushed all the way back to 11.
You don't see that very
They-
often.
No, you don't. Not anymore, at least. Although I don't really listen to new albums anymore, so maybe I'm the wrong person to mention that. This is the last track of this album. This one's Banned from the Back Porch. Before we get any further into it, I should say, I mentioned earlier that I had this album burned on a CD. The copy that I had cut this song off at like a minute and a quarter. So like I can listen
What
to
a
this song
tease.
and know exactly when it cuts off. And I just always assumed that it just ended very abruptly.
Yeah,
But then
Soprano style.
obviously listening to it as more recently, I was like, oh, there's like a whole other part to the song.
That's so funny. I have a
Yeah.
question. Is there a different singer on this song?
No, same dude.
Somehow it sound. I wrote down. Is there a different singer? It felt like I like this song. It's a really sweet song. But it sounded almost like they were like the bass player was like, "Can I sing one?" And they were like, "Okay, fine, you can sing one." It sounded. I don't know. It sounds slightly different to me.
I think he was the keyboardist from the Cars, who sang "Who's Gonna Drive You Home," and that became like the biggest song.
Yeah.
That always makes me laugh. It's like this Rick Ocasek was trying his hardest to make an awesome band, and then the keyboard's like, "Can I do one?" And it's like blows up.
Yeah.
He might have been a drummer even, which makes it even worse.
Oh yeah. You don't want that. You don't want that.
Yeah. So this album, back to it, band from the Back Porch, is based on a real party and seeing a girl for the first time. I'll play the little bit of the track, then we'll talk about it.
Back porches.
A lot of these songs, to me, I can almost hear like the audience callbacks.
Oh yeah.
Like when they would play this live, there are certain points when you would be like kind of like brought in to like sing, and I feel like I feel like I remember hearing that as being like maybe like a mic out situation where it's like you guys take this part.
Totally. Yeah.
It's so good though. Band from the Back Porch, awesome song.
Maybe
just like
Chris
this-
was sick on it. Doesn't his voice sound deeper? Like I feel like the rest of the album is so pingy and nasally, like how he sings, and this song feels like a little bit swallowed in his throat. I don't know.
There may be something to it. I know that like it's very hard to sing at the register that he's singing in.
It is very hard.
So
Very
maybe
hard.
this was the point in his life, especially towards the end of the album when he was changing a little bit.
Right.
He couldn't quite get those high notes.
Yeah. No, this is a great song. And I mean, I remember that feeling of just like back porch hangouts were great. They were just the best.
So that's it. That's Through Being Cool.
We did it.
We did it. Talking about another album. If you like this album, please feel free to go out and purchase it somewhere. Actually, this brings me to another little point. Like I mentioned earlier, I had this album on vinyl. My intention with this podcast as well as just talking about music for a little bit is to sort of like beef up my vinyl collection.
Sure.
So I've been like actively, not like through Amazon, 'cause that seems a little easy to get Enema of the State on Amazon.
Sure.
I've been going to like record stores. I was in Philly last weekend and I went to a record store to see if I could find it. They had Dude Ranch and they had a bunch of other ones, but they didn't have Enema of the State, which is a bummer. But they did have this Saves the Day album. So if you do like it, feel free to pick it up or just stream it. It's good stuff. You're going to like it. It'll open your mind if you haven't already heard this.
Please do. This was fun, Chris. We got another one in the can.
Yeah, another one.
Do we know what we want to do for next? Our next
I
album?
think we gotta do the Sublime album, the Bradley Nolan Friends. I think it makes sense. It's a good summer vibe. I think
It
we're
is a good
approaching
summer
the
vibe.
summer months. Yeah,
All right.
we'll get into that. So it's
It'll
a
be
little
a good
teaser. If you want to start listening ahead to that one,
Yes.
do it.
Do it and check it out.
Do it. Check it out. We have all the show notes. You can look up all the stuff that you want to find out in the show notes of the episode, links and stuff to merch and our socials and whatever else. And don't even go. I don't even care. Don't even click on the link. I got sick to my stomach just talking about it.
No, you know what? It was good. It was like we've had this whole punk ethos for this whole podcast, and they were like,
Oh,
And
for
make sure you check out our links and purchase our.
Yeah.
No,
We have
it's
plenty
good.
of shirts. Please go ahead and buy stuff. No, I
Come meet-
dare you
come,
to not
come
click
meet
on
us at the come meet us at the merch table. Yeah, that's a better. way.
That is an awesome way to sort of end the show. We'll have to figure that. Maybe the next episode we'll figure out a way to say meet us at the merch table or something.
Yeah, I like
we'll,
that.
We'll workshop
workshop
that.
Oh, there we go.
But in the meantime, thanks so much for listening. We'll see you next month with another perfect album.
Thanks for listening, everybody. We'll see you on the next one. Bye bye.
Later.